There are over 4 million Filipino Americans living in the US. That's more than Thai and Vietnamese combined. We know pad thai, we know pho. But if you ask most Americans to name even one Filipino dish, most of them would go blank. Filipino food isn't easily accessible to me, and I wanted to know why.
So I did what I always do. I went and found it myself.
Filipino cuisine is an absolute sensory overload. Savory, sour, and a chaotic mix of Spanish, Chinese, and American influences. And the more I learn about it, the more I realize the reason you don't notice food has nothing to do with the taste. My investigation brought me here, Little Manila in Queens, New York. Manila is the capital city of the Philippines, and as the name suggests, this is probably where I can find some of the best Filipino food in New York City. The restaurant I found feels like a warm, communal cafe. Many of the customers are Filipino families. We went for the full experience that's inspired by the Filipino traditional feast called Kamayan. In the Philippines, this is a massive communal feast where food is served on banana leaves and shared by hand. Garlic fried rice in the middle, and several dishes served at once. For someone like me who hates choosing just one thing, what could be better than that? Among all these dishes, the most popular ones are Lumpia Shanghai and Pancit. Look at this pancit, a noodle dish cooked with cabbages, carrots, shrimp, and finished with a sprinkle of green onion. At first glance, your brain goes, "Oh, I know this guy. That looks like chow mein from the Chinese takeouts." And you'd be right to think that, because pancit is basically chow mein's cousin. Chinese immigrants brought noodles to the Philippines for treats as early as the 10th century. But here's the twist. Unlike chow mein, which is heavy on soy sauce and oyster sauce, pancit tastes completely different. Why? Look at this fruit, calamansi, aka the Philippine lime. Small, but incredibly important in Filipino cooking. We're using lemon here, but the idea is the same. That squeeze of citrus completely transformed the dish, from something savory and heavy into something bright, fresh, and lively. And that's not a coincidence. Long before any foreign influences arrived, indigenous Filipinos loved sour flavors. Souring is one of the oldest flavor principles in Filipino cuisine. They fermented constantly, using vinegar, tamarind, and calamansi to balance and preserve food in a tropical climate. It is baked into the Filipino palate at a fundamental level. So when pancit arrived on their shores, squeezing calamansi juice on top just made sense. And honestly, I think it is genius. Chow mein can get pretty heavy and salty, but a squeeze of citrus cuts through the richness and makes the noodles taste lighter and way easier to keep eating. Lumpia Shanghai looks like a Chinese spring roll, but smaller, thinner, and crispier, more like a finger food. The filling is dense and meaty, ground pork with onion and garlic, dipped in sweet chili sauce. Every bite is so satisfying. But check out the name, Shanghai. Why the Filipino staple is named after the Chinese metropolis is still a mystery, but it's a clue to a thousand-year-old connection. The Chinese were already in the Philippines island by the 9th century, trading silk and ceramics while navigating monsoon winds. And they weren't the only ones. The Philippine Islands used to be a trade hub connecting people from all over the world. Long before the Spanish arrived on the scenes, there was no Philippines as a single nation, no unified kingdom. Instead, it was a collection of hundreds of independent communities called barangays. Think of them as small tribes with their own social structure and treated with one another. They were the original global traders, connecting with Malay kingdoms, Chinese, Indian merchants, and Arab sailors. The Malay connection is probably the oldest and deepest. Check out this curry-like veggie dish with okra, eggplant, long beans with a bold umami kick from fermented shrimp paste. The day before, I had a Malaysian dish share very similar ingredients and a flavor profile. It is a flavor shared across the sea, long before the borders existed. The food is absolutely great with so many influences. And all of these influences are some of the most powerful food cultures in the world. Yet modern-day Filipino cuisine is not as popular as its Asian counterparts. Why? To understand this, we have to go back to 1565 when Spain arrived, because Spain didn't just change what Filipino ate, but also changed how they felt about their own food. If you ask any Filipino for their national dish, most will say adobo. But here's the irony. The word is Spanish, but the dish existed long before the Spanish arrived. The Philippines has its own language, Tagalog. So how did its national dish get a Spanish name? Well, to understand this, you have to understand how colonization worked in the Philippines. When Spain arrived, they didn't just bring soldiers, they brought friars. Friars were Catholic religious men who lived and worked among ordinary people. Soldiers conquered lands, but friars reshaped the soul of society. Before colonization, Filipino life was highly decentralized, with small coastal community, river villages. The friars learned local languages and built churches in every town. Over time, entire communities started revolving around the Catholic calendar. Births, marriages, fiestas, even daily routines. Sounds not so bad, right? But it came with a cost. Over years and years, the clan network, local traditions, and connections to the land slowly changed under colonial rule. The Spanish renamed places, people, and food. And naming matters, because once you start renaming everything, you start reshaping how people think about it, including identity. Adobo existed long before the Spanish arrived, and it certainly has a name for that, but nobody really remembers what it's called. I am making adobo today. Adobo means marinating, and the dish is deeply mixed. The marinating cooking technique is pre-colonial. White vinegar and salt, which is the indigenous palates. Soy sauce, the Chinese influence. Black pepper, the Indian influence. Garlic, arrived through the pre-colonial trade. And bay leaves, the only thing that possibly were brought in by the Spanish. And we're going to let them marinate sit for at least 30 minutes. Most people think Filipino food is pretty meat heavy, which is kind of true. But here's the thing. Before the Spanish and Americans arrived, Filipino diet was mostly fish, root vegetables, grains, coconuts, the good stuff. But how did it transform into carnivores? Surface level, the feast culture. Deep level, the racial hierarchy. The fiesta was built around the Catholic calendar. Every town, every patron saint's day, need a whole roasted pig, lechon, which is a symbol of abundance, blessing, and status. At the same time, colonial society was deeply unequal, with Spanish-born elites at the top and indigenous Filipinos at the bottom. Over centuries, meat-heavy dishes started to feel high status, while simpler, vegetable-based foods were associated with poor households. As a result, many indigenous Filipinos and mestizos were made to feel disconnected from their own identity and food. When the culture is taught not to be proud of its food, it stops celebrating and sharing wisely. Instead, it stays at home, cook for family, and not for the world. But the story doesn't end with Spain. Because right after 300 years of colonization, the Philippines didn't get independence. Instead, they got a new colonizer, America. During the American occupation, English became the official language. Schools were built, American values and cultures were promoted, and American-style medical training was established. So when the US later faced healthcare labor shortages and opened the immigration path to the people outside of Western Europe, the well-trained, English-speaking, and culturally familiarized Filipino healthcare workers were at the front line to recruit. Unlike Chinese or Vietnamese immigrants who arrived as laborers or refugees and built enclaves to restaurant and business in Chinatowns or Little Saigon, many Filipinos entered directly into hospitals and healthcare jobs. They assimilated quietly and quickly, moving to suburbs, not enclaves, and their food followed. Stay home, cook for family instead of public. But Filipino food deserves the spotlight. I've marinated the chicken for 1 or 2 hours, so it should absorb the flavor. We move the chicken to the pan. Sear it on both sides until brown. Remove it and add garlic to saute. Then add the remaining marinade, water, sugar, and black pepper. Let it simmer for 20 minutes, and you get this beautiful, savory dish. The soy sauce and chicken give you a rich umami base, while the vinegar adds a bright acidity that keeps it from feeling too heavy. It is garlicky and earthy, and I like it a lot. Some people think Filipino food is not that popular because it's pretty meat heavy and it doesn't really have a signature flavor profile. For that, I made this sinigang, which is a pre-colonial sour and savory soup cooked in Filipino household. Tamarind base, featuring protein like pork or fish. I used fish here and a bunch of vegetables. It was super easy to make, super sour also, but I like it. At the beginning of this video, I told you that I couldn't name a single Filipino dish, but now I made two, and I've tried a bunch, and they are incredible. I've noticed a new generation of Filipino chefs and creators are pushing it into the spotlight. And honestly, I think it's just getting started.